what about Tolosa? It's yet another futuristic city planned to be built from scratch. This time it'll be set somewhere in the middle of a US desert. Tolosa's blueprint is all about sustainability and an economic system called equitism. And it's been proposed by this guy, billionaire entrepreneur Mark Lowry, a former Walmart executive. The city's being designed by a world-famous architect and aims to be home to 50,000 people by the year 2030 before going on to grow to a population of 5 million. Then there's the design of the city itself. At the centre stands Equitism Tower. Called the Beacon of the City, Equitism Tower is a skyscraper with lookout areas where residents can gather. Surrounding the tower are 36 districts arranged as 15-minute cities where everything residents need will be within walking distance. For anything further away, there's a public transport system. Electric and autonomous vehicles will cruise the streets at a slow pace to protect pedestrians and bikers, but fossil fuel vehicles are banned.
If it is completely new, how do you get people to move there and live there? I think one of the things that we've learned from history is that if we're going to really do this, we need to do it like in a shotgun kind of approach where overnight 50,000 people move in.
Is a video of the principle of the line, which is really the revolution in urban design that NEOM is pioneering. And we can talk a little bit more about that as we go through the rest of the panel in the session.
So when I'm looking at this, it's a grid infrastructure.
Yeah, so basically the way it works is it's 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high. Wow. The height is from the sea level, so as you go inwards and the topography actually goes up, then the height of the actual building structure reduces until you get to the mountains where it actually, you no longer have a mirror line. The idea is about what we call zero gravity urbanism, which is not necessarily having to be linked and anchored to a ground. How can we think of cities that go vertical and not only horizontal? This has many benefits. It's 5 minutes walk from all of your needs. Each module is 800 meters wide, and each module will take 80,000 people on average. Obviously, some are going to be more densely populated than others. And when you do it this way, you're only 5 minutes walk away from your school, your hospital, supermarket. The other thing is that the catchment area becomes a lot bigger. The catchment area for businesses becomes an 80,000 catchment area within a 5-minute walk, which, as you can understand, instead of opening many pharmacies or many stores, that one store will service a much bigger catchment area than it typically does in other cities that have, 15, 20,000 people in even dense cities, catchment areas like New York and London. The idea as well is to reduce the footprint. So imagine 9 million people living on 34 square kilometers. And if you compare that to other cities, it's almost the 2% of the size of London, yet taking the same amount of population at end state. The first module is going to finish in 2027, end of 2027. And as you can imagine, this is a generational project. So it will continue to go on until 2045 when the whole project is complete. We think of this as not a start and an end. This is a city that is being built. So it's being designed forever. Yep. And hence the glass walls to give it its timeless appeal, as well as a integration with nature in a way like you would never see before.
1. Zibi, Ottawa, Canada. Zibi has an unequaled beachfront position, as well as a rich cultural legacy and history. Zibi will now be home to thousands of residents who will have everything at their fingertips, from the world-class parks of North Shore to the top shopping and restaurants of Chaudière West. The Zibi Master Plan includes a comprehensive network of walking trails, cycling networks, and public transportation choices. Cyclists will find brand new bike paths right at their doorsteps along the Booth Eddy corridor. Pedestrians will enjoy a highly walkable neighborhood, and residents will think twice before driving. 2. Forest City, Malaysia. Forest City, a luxury estate in southern Malaysia, is one of the country's most contentious constructions. The prominent features of Forest City are as follows. Low-carbon, green city with a sustainable community and an energy-efficient building system that meets green criteria. A bustling metropolis with a dense population that is in tune with the rest of the world. A harmonious community that embraces the rich heritage established by its members' diverse cultures. The newly built forest metropolis, which will consist of 4 man-made islands spanning 30 square kilometers, will be a smart and green future metropolis that integrates environment, technology, and cutting-edge technology to create an ideal, idyllic, and technology-driven living and working space ecology. 3. Gujarat International Finance Tech City, Gift City, India. Gift City is a national project that has become a vital element of India's growth story as the country strives to realize its aspiration of becoming a developed nation. Eco Atlantic City, Nigeria. Eco Atlantic is a brand new coastal metropolis under construction on Victoria Island in Lagos, Nigeria. This new metropolis has fast grown from a creative architectural concept to a technical reality. Road infrastructure and underground surface drainage pipes have already been installed along important routes across the new metropolis. The project's bridges in phases 1 and 2 have all been finished. Independent, reliable electricity, modern fiber optic telecoms, and clean water utility services are already built below street level across Eco Atlantic. 5. Western Sydney Aerotropolis, Australia. Western Sydney, approximately 50 kilometers from Sydney's core business centre, is one of Australia's fastest growing districts. That is why the governments of Australia and New South Wales are collaborating with the business sector to build a purpose-built aerotropolis. The Western Sydney Aerotropolis will grow into a major economic hub in the region. The Aerotropolis, which will benefit from its proximity to the new Western Sydney International Nancy Bird Walton Airport, will contribute to 200,000 new jobs in the broader Western Parkland city. 6. Smart Kalasatama, Helsinki, Finland. Smart Kalasatama, a brownfield district in Helsinki, is a vibrant smart city experimental innovation platform where residents may co-create smart and clean urban infrastructure and services. By 2035, the district will house around 25,000 people. Kalasatama is constructing a carbon-neutral future for energy services. The user of power in this paradigm, smart grid area, can also be its producer. 7. Hafen City, Hamburg, Germany. Hamburg's smart city approach is obvious in daily life. Smart technologies, multidisciplinary pilot projects, and new architecture continue to emerge in the city's ever-changing landscape. Hamburg's IT and communication infrastructure includes free Wi-Fi and charging stations in some of the city's trains. Hamburg, like Heidelberg and Stuttgart, is a pioneer in delivering an energy-efficient urban environment.
15-minute cities, they will have to have those before they can lock you down. So in Great Britain, some county already passed legislation. They will be able to impose a climate lockdown. That's the next step. So in order to do that, they will have to have these 15-minute cities. The next step then, of course, will be you are only allowed to leave your immediate area for, let's say, 2 or 3 times a year. So, but there's other people that may have more money and they can actually buy your passings off of you. So guess what? The poor people will be left in these 15-minute neighborhoods while the ones that are better off get to go wherever they want to go. Look at Saudi Arabia, for instance. They're pulling up Neom City. They call it the Line. So this is like a structure in the middle of the desert, 200 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high, and it will house up to 9 million people. If I wanted to get total control of the people, that's exactly where and how I would house them. And then having them on a 3 meals a day prescription, well, guess what will happen if you do not do as you are told? They will probably cancel that. is so easy. It will be a complete impoverishment and enslavement of all the people.
Shalom, Ka'Allah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rukwadash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who in the house of David be born again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about Esau's 15-minute smart cities, which he has planned out for the population of the earth. But before we get into that, let's read this. 2nd Ezra 15-17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Now, this ultimately talks about the coming lockdown and martial law, but it could also refer to the larger lockdown and systematic shutting down of your freedom of mobility here in Babylon the Great and around the world. You see, what we just watched at the very beginning of this lesson was basically the roster of announced smart cities around the world which are in the works. Now, other big cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, and other big metropolis areas around the world, they're already being transformed to 15-minute city layouts. You've probably heard about how London is being locked down. You can't drive into certain neighborhoods. They have these lo-fi cameras, basically, or cameras that monitor pollution, and they basically find people in cities so that way you can't drive in certain locations. There's a bunch of people going around cutting them down, you know, because people are rebelling against this. Well, all of this is in the works, and Esau knows about it. This is why the housing is horrible right now, not only here in America but around the world, because what's happening is the world is being transitioned into a socialist communist system where you're not going to own anything, and as Carl Schwab says, you're going to be happy, right? Because what they're going to do is they're going to provide you your own housing. But how are they going to do that? Well, at the very beginning of this video, that one guy said they're going to have to do this in a shotgun manner where 50,000 people just move in. This is another reason why China has these ghost cities where there's, you know, hundreds of apartments set up and nice cities built all together, but nobody lives in these cities. And why is that? Well, because when they initiate this new world order where you're not working anymore, you're basically just living to die, and you know, and you're working or living under a social credit system where everything is given to you by the government, but you ultimately give up your freedom and your sovereignty by, you know, taking that mark of the beast or implantable RFID chip in your hands or your heads. Well, these are going to be the cities and the living areas for those who take that pledge with Lucifer. You see, what's going to happen is these smart cities are going to be built and developed, and they're going to be promoted, and it's going to basically be almost free to live in these cities. And a lot of these newer generation are going to just flock to these cities because these are where the jobs are going to be. These are where the governmental social living systems and programs are going to be ushered out at. If you want to visit these places, you're going to have certain identification, like the mark of the beast, just like what we're seeing at these Whole Foods, you know, scan to shop stores. And what's going to happen to the older cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, you know, and other bigger cities that are just too big, what's going to happen is you're going to get portions of them that are going to be converted, like what they're doing in London, but the outer skirts of these cities are going to be let go and just allowed to basically go into ruins, and the people who live there will eventually just move out or be pushed out through eminent domain, unchecked crime, unserviceable utilities, and so on. This is how Esau is going to work it to where anybody living out in the rural areas he's gonna make it hard for them to live, right? They're not gonna be able to get water, electricity, or have shops around there. Just kind of like how you have right now in these neighborhoods that Jake stays in, right? Normally known as the hoods, right? Right now you have food deserts where there's really no markets in these areas, and basically these people are just, able to shop at small convenience stores and gas stations, right? Because they don't have the ability to go out. Well, that's the same thing that Esau is going to do to these, older cities and the rural areas. He's going to basically make it almost impossible and very difficult to stay in these areas. And this is why it behooves you, like the apostle says, man, get ready, prepare yourself, and find a little place that you could be good at for a while. And as the scriptures say, be prepared to leave if you have to. Be as a pilgrim, as the scriptures say. This is Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. And these 15-minute cities are grievousness, right? As that lady, Christine Anderson, she's like an EU politician who's very against the New World Order, and she's come out in many videos. You've probably seen her come out against the jabs, against these lockdown measures, against, as you just seen, in these 15-minute cities. Well, what happened is, like she explained, that these new cities are going to be the way that Esau is able to get full control over the people, right? There's rumors that we're about to go into another lockdown fairly soon, but you're going to notice that the lockdowns aren't going to go as planned for Esau, or at least the way he would like, right? But mark my words, these aren't going to be the last lockdown. There's going to be continual lockdowns. After the next lockdown we go through, there's going to be another lockdown and another lockdown, and what's going to happen is more and more and more of your rights are going to be taken away. And eventually what's going to happen is that this is just going to be part of the way the world works, right? There was a movie, I forgot what it was called. It was on Netflix or something, but they basically showed, it was like COVID-23 or something like that, basically showing a future, a dystopian future, where all the cities were locked down, the military had everything, like checkpoints everywhere, and people were getting taken because they failed certain tests. That's ultimately where these things are going to go to. And what's going to happen is what we've seen over in China. The people who quarantined, they went to those camps and then they were released. Those people stayed away from anybody who wasn't quarantined, wasn't part of the social credit system, wasn't obeying, because they didn't want to get dinged and penalized and be put back into those concentration camps, right? And that's the same conditioning that we're going to see. And this was all shown in that TV show Black Mirror, where they had that social credit system where people were staying away from the undesirables. Well, that's the future we're going to, Akim, right? Because why? Well, because like it says here, right? These devils have decreed unrighteous decrees, right, around the entire world. This is why, like, I wanted to show you these clips from all around the world, that these smart cities are being set up. Because again, Esau, he has a plan for the future, and it doesn't include you having freedom. This is Ecclesiastes 18:1. He that liveth forever hath created all things in general. Yahweh only is righteous, and there is none other but he, who governeth the world with the palm of his hand, and all things obey his will. For he is the king of all, but his power dividing holy things amongst them from profane. To whom hath he given power to declare his works, and who shall find out his noble acts? So you see, though it's Esau who is bringing forward these unrighteous decrees and setting up this new world order, this is all the plan of the Lord. And contrary to popular belief, the Lord is not all love. He's all ranges of emotions, including fierce and angry. He punishes just as he rewards, right? He has wrath just like he has mercy. And what's coming with these 15-minute cities and the destruction that's going to come along with them and the hardships upon those who don't have the Lord is all due to the Lord's plan for the world. He's the one who is putting it into these devils' minds to bring forward these smart cities, these regulations, these lockdowns, and eventually this depopulation. Now, Esau isn't going to go ahead and accomplish it, but he's definitely going to get a good chunk done. This is Daniel's 4:17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. And currently, the world is being ran by the basis of men, right? Base is considered the low level, lowest of a model, right? When you go buy a car that has no accessories, it's the most plain, cheapest car you could buy of that version, it's referred to as the base model. Where you see these Edomites who are in power right now, who are bringing forward these agendas, they are the basis of men, and the Lord has put them in power. Why? Well, for many reasons. One, to make us Israelites jealous, right? Because we went off and ultimately the Lord decided to put the basis of men, the most lowly of the nations, over us, right? As a punishment to us. And also because it was a blessing that our forefather Isaac gave to his son Esau, who is the forefather of these Caucasians, right? They were said that they were going to live off of the fat of the earth, and that basically that they would rule the world through their weaponry, through their sword. And that's what's being fulfilled, now. We're currently living through the very end of it. Okay, and what we're seeing is just what these devils, these wicked, would do with all this energy, right? And this right here also shows not only us Israelites, but the whole world, what would happen if wickedness was allowed to rule the world, right? We're living through it. We're seeing what would happen. This is Job 20 and 23. When he is about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So like I said, these devils are going to accomplish a lot, and they're going to be able to take with them a lot of people who just aren't paying attention, who are down for these smart cities, down for the universal basic income checks, down for the mark of the beast, that are down with the beast, right? So what's going to happen is these devils are going to get a lot of the 2/3 of the Israelites who are just wicked and have to be destroyed, and the majority of the world. And what's going to happen is only the remnant and the elect of Israel, that's the 1/3, that's the 1 out of every 3 Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, plus the 144,000, are going to see what's coming, right? What does it tell you in Daniel's 12 and 10? That the wise shall see it and understand, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. See, this is why we're able to see all these things coming to pass, right? Because we actually look out for this stuff, because the Lord has put it into our spirits to find this information, and then also to warn our fellow Israelites, right? The 1/3 of our people, right? Who are also going to take this information and be aware of the coming dangers and still steer clear, of them, with the help of the Lord, that is. So hopefully this video was edifying, Akim. Wanted to show everybody what Esau has in store for the world, and just ultimately want to make it clear that though these devils are the ones physically doing it, it's the Lord who is behind him, giving him this power so he can fulfill the Lord's will, which is ultimately to trap up the world, so that way when he comes through, he could destroy in righteousness. So with all that, let's go and give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders, great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.